Okay, so for a long time, people have been saying, do Over the Garden Wall, do Over the Garden Wall. Well, we've gotten halfway through them. We are at the, we just got done with Lullaby and Frogland and gotten up to that point.
This is a weird one.
A bit. It's like there's so much to talk about, and yet I don't know how to put it. It's one of the few times where it's like, I'm kind of at a loss for words, but I can do my best to sort of sum up, what I see here. Well, first of all, there's obviously going to be spoilers in this. I think anyone that watches this has probably seen it. I give it a lot of credit that it is something that I've never seen on, TV or Cartoon Network. I think it's really kind of risky to put something like this out. How many episodes? There's about 10 episodes of these 11-minute vignettes, and they do sort of tell a continuing story. It's kind of like a road trip movie where they come across different creatures and characters and stuff. It's just two kids trying to find their way home. And the best thing I can think of while watching this, it reminds me a lot of the books of like Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz. The books.
Crossed a little bit with scary stories to tell in the dark.
Yeah, it sort of has... Yeah, where Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland were very whimsical and magical, and when you read it, you sort of got like a bright, colorful thing. This is definitely much more woods and dark and shadows.
Dark kind of folktale.
Yeah, very folktale-ish, very like...
But folktale, not Grimm's fairy tale-ish, like kind of American. Like,
yeah,
yeah, like more like an American folktale versus like a Grimm's kind of... Though, I mean, there do seem to be witches and beasts, but I don't get European as much out of this.
No, well, there's witches in, America, obviously. Well, quote unquote, we burned a lot.
We burned them all.
That's right.
Actually, that is a lie. We hung them.
Ah, yes.
We didn't burn witches over here. We hung those bastards.
We did it right.
That's why they didn't come back.
Yeah, that's why you don't see them anymore. Must be the reason.
It's a lie. We killed innocent people.
That's actually really sad. But anyway, it's
Thank you,
Salem. It's one of those little miniseries where it's the best way I can kind of describe it is that you remember when you're like 3 years old and you watch
every day.
You watch like a movie or even a cartoon show that's maybe a little above your age and you're not quite at the point where you comprehend everything that's going on, but you're kind of just hypnotized by it and you're watching it and you kind of assume to yourself, at some point I'll understand this. And
are you claiming this is Teletubbies for adults?
No, I mean it like watching something like Return to Oz when you're like 3 or 4 years old or something like that. Well, we grew up with that movie.
No, I know what you're saying, because that's all I can say. I'm just watching it and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, you're just
it's just hypnotic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a strangely hypnotic show. Even in episodes where, for a good 5 minutes, nothing much is going on. The episode at the school where the kid's just playing outside with the animals, and I'm just like, there's like nothing going on here, but I'm just mesmerized by this.
Most things we watch, whether they're good or bad, we usually talk a little bit through it and make remarks and stuff. Like this, we're just...
Yeah,
I mean, we're just...
We hardly said a word. We were just...
Even after it's done, usually there's like a reaction, or that was strange, that was weird. It's like,
yeah.
Next. I mean, it's like... And that's not a bad thing.
It's not at all. Like, we were so hypnotized by it, we just couldn't even say anything. And it's hard to know what to say even now. It just... Yeah, that's all I can compare it to, is like... There were a couple of scary stories to tell in the dark where it's just like... what the hell was it? The one with the old lid with the gypsy drum or whatever. It was some folktale about this girl who wanted a drum from some other girl, and the girl keeps like saying you have to be mean to your parents or something, and the mother's just like, don't do that, because eventually I'll be replaced by some angry mother with like a wooden tail and a glass eye or something, and like, it's this nonsensical story, and so she keeps acting bad, the daughter keeps acting bad, and eventually she gets the drum, but she returns home, and then it's just like, then she met her new mother with the wooden tail and the glass eye, and it's like, ton, that's it. It's just surreal, and you're just kind of like, well, I guess there was a moral there, but it's just bizarre, and all of these have that same thing. It's like, there's a moral, but it's just weird shit that happens. And
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Kurosawa's Dreams, if anybody's ever seen that. It's sort of
that's another good
it's
example.
these very strange individual stories where here there is a continuing story and even arguably a theme, I think very basic morals, but they sort of end on these very strange notes that aren't like, and here's the punchline, and here's the moral, here's the whatever. They're just sort of like on these really weird, we don't need to impress you, we're just telling you what happened basis. But what we're telling you happened is so strange, that should be enough, and we're just gonna let that sit with you. And I don't mind that, surprisingly. It's because it's so sucked in to its own strange world, and it looks very nice. And yeah, like I say, it's sort of one of those movies or shows you watch as a kid, and even though you're not following it, you're so intrigued and you're sucked in, and you think it's just take out the part where you grow up, you watch it years later, and it makes sense. Just take that part out and just accept the surreality of it, and it's challenging in a good way. Like, I can't say I understand everything that's going on or why certain choices are made. In fact, I'd probably argue I understand very few of the choices that are made, but they're so intriguing and so laid back and so original. This is not based on a book or a story, which really shocked me. This reads like a Victorian children's story or a collection of Victorian children's stories.
Kind of.
I mean, the animals in the school wearing the hats and outfits and stuff. I mean, that just sounds like a Wind in the Willows type thing or something.
A little bit, though. I feel like there would have been more of a... I don't want to say point. That sounds mean, but like a direction where... You know what this is? This is like Kino's Journey for 7-year-olds.
If you haven't seen, you got some homework.
If you haven't
Check
seen
it out.
Kino's Journey, it's a really great anime, but I get that same vibe watching this that I do from Kino's Journey. It's like, here's a random travelogue and meets a bunch of weird people, and there's a little bit of a moral to every story, and sometimes he helps the people out, or sometimes they help the people out, sometimes they don't, and you get this weird sense of the culture of everywhere they're going.
And it's a world that very much exists in its own strange reality. Like, in Kino's Journey, just every land has a weird quirk or some sort of weird rule they live by. Here, it's like every creature you come across, or every place is a different kind of creature. Like, one could be on a frog boat, one could be, a mansion run by this crazy guy, who didn't realize that his mansion was connected to another mansion, and that both people that live in the mansion think the other is a ghost. I mean, it's just these strange little kind of fables.
I think my favorite was the pumpkin one. With the pumpkin patch and the... The school one was pretty good, too. Actually, I will say this. The animation is amazing. And it's always the little details that sometimes you appreciate the most. I mean, from the beginning, I thought the animation was really good, but there was one detail that I thought was awesome. And in the school one, the school teacher goes in front of a window in the schoolhouse.
The little dust particles.
Yeah, and there's dust particles in the sunbeam. And I'm like, that is a detail that only like somebody who really is on top of their game would catch. Not watching it, but animating it and being like, we're going to set this tone in this scene so much that there's going to be little dust particles in the sunbeam coming through the window. And that's amazing.
You know what I'm saying with, like, Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz? They're like the book. The Wizard of Oz movie has a very clear beginning, middle, and end. Come across people, they're all going to go see the wizards. The books, they'll, like, come across just these weird rock creatures or something, and then they're on to the next thing, and it's like, or sometimes they'll have a moral, sometimes it won't, and then it's just on to the next thing. It's the same thing with Alice in Wonderland, where it's like...
They're vignettes.
Yeah, there's not exactly, like, always a point, or it's all coming around to one thing. It's just sort of like, here's some strangeness, enjoy, now we're kind of on to the next strangeness, and it's like, the world it creates is so strange, and the tone it creates is so strange, that you kind of feel it doesn't even really need sort of the traditional 3-act structure, and I like a story that can do that, which is like, we usually harp on stories that's like, you need a 3-act structure, which you usually do, but when you're so bizarre enough and clever enough that you can actually go beyond that, I really respect that kind of writing.
Okay. Honestly, each vignette, I think, has a 3-act structure.
But you know what I mean? Like,
there's a beginning, middle, end.
How do I put it? Like,
but if you're talking about as a whole narrative from beginning to end so far, no, it seems pretty random.
Yeah, like we don't even know who their parents are or anything like that.
All
It's
we
just
know
like-
is that he's got a crush.
Yeah, we don't even know why they were lost in the woods or why they were in the wood. They know they
The
found
Bluebird bit came up randomly, just like, and I used to be human. I love Elijah Wood's read on that. Just, really? I didn't know that. I'm pretty sure I would have remembered that. had
Did
you
I know
mentioned it.
that? No, I didn't know that.
No,
Like
I didn't know
even,
that.
which I sort of had to remind myself too. Wait, did he know that? And then he says it as well.
Yeah.
The acting reminds me a little bit of Gravity Falls. Every time I hear Elijah Wood, I think of Dipper actually in that part.
For the first minute he was talking, I thought it was the same voice actor. as
yeah,
Dipper.
I mean it's they're
And then
very
it hit me. I'm
similar.
like, oh, it's Elijah Wood. Who it? Not only does that guy have a face made for cartoons because he looks like a hobbit with the
Yeah.
big blue eyes and but he's got a voice made for cartoons.
It's hard to looking at him in
I
real
just
life and hearing his
saw,
voice. It's hard to gather his age.
Last year I just finished up on Tron Uprising, the Disney cartoon, and he was amazing in that. Honestly, if you want another great animated series, that was better than the Tron Legacy movie. And then, of course, Disney in their infinite wisdom is just like, hey, this is really awesome. Canceled. But yeah, I was watching that, and I thought he was amazing in that, so I'm glad he's in this now. We've got John Cleese, maybe?
Yeah. Oh, that had to be Cleese.
I thought I heard. You know, we got
if it wasn't.
Christopher Lloyd as the woodsman, and did I hear James Earl Jones?
I swear I heard him too, but we didn't see him in the credits, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought
But
it was him
this-
playing the beast or whatever.
This is the same. These are the same people who did like Adventure Time, pretty much, and their credits are sort of like always clumped together. Like at the end of like an Adventure Time episode, you'd be like, "Wait, these people weren't in them," but they just sort of clumped them together. Like in general, these people are kind of here, kind of not, whatever. So maybe that's James Earl Jones. I don't know. If not, sounds a lot like him. But these people are often known for just finding unique talents that are not. They use big voice actor names as well, but they don't always like. For the main people, like they'll find sort of just various people that you've never heard of, or just are new to show business, or because I IMDb'd a lot of these people. I'm like, oh, that's a newcomer. That's a newcomer. A lot of the writers, like there's a ton of writers on these. You know, and some wrote them all the way through. Others just did an episode.
It's a well written show.
Yeah, and I think part of it is just that strange variety. And I think because they created an atmosphere and an environment where you can just sort of do whatever. So if an episode wants to make sense, great. If it wants to not make sense, great. It, again, very much like Adventure Time, it can kind of do that. So, yeah, it's... I really enjoy it. But not like, yay, I can't wait for the next one. It's sort of like, this is gonna take me somewhere else. Both.
Oh no! I am totally
creatively and like.
I totally can't wait for the next one. Like when we're just like, okay, we have to stop here to do the vlog. I'm like, crap, because I just want to know where the hell this is going.
It's one of those where, how do I put it? I love the Disney Sleepy Hollow. I think
It reminded me of that.
a lot of
the
that.
one at the tavern reminded me of
Yeah,
that when they're
the
singing about the
cliff
beast.
and
Yeah,
Infinity Hollow.
we start singing that song because like this totally reminds us of Disney's Sleepy Hollow.
But it's one of those things where
But the whole thing, like I think the other thing I really like about it is. Just like Disney's Sleepy Hollow just exudes Halloween, this fall.
I'm kicking
and
myself that I
everything.
didn't watch this during fall.
Yeah, like we're in the middle of spring now and we're watching this. I'm like, crap, I would have loved to have seen this in October or November. Like this just exudes like Halloween and fall, and everywhere they go it's spooky woods or the leaves are turning or there's pumpkins or there's beasts or it's just like Disney's Sleepy Hollow that way. You just get this feeling of like fall.
No, and what I was talking about before with like, I'm not necessarily like, I can't wait to see the next one, but I want to. It's very much like what I found, like when I was watching Lost, every time I couldn't wait for the next episode to find out what was going to happen. I was so sucked in. And then when it was all over and stuff, I don't really go back and rewatch them. Like, even though, yeah, the ending sucked. We all know that. But,
I'd rewatch the hell out of this.
No, I mean, but that's why I'm saying, and even, Gravity Falls I would go back and rewatch, but I'm so excited for the next one. I cannot die without knowing what the next one's going to be. Where with this one, if I didn't know, I'd be a little bit disappointed or whatever, but at the same time, I can see myself watching all of these every Halloween.
With the music and everything in this sort of late 19th century setting, I feel like it's that first few minutes of Bioshock Infinite.
It reminds me a lot
where you're
of
just
those,
wandering around and there's just this random music and you're kind of lazily just looking at everything before stuff goes to shit.
This kind of looks...
It's a lot like that. It's just got this hypnotic quality to it.
It feels like one of those little shorts that, like, in those machines where you put a penny in and you sort of put your eyes through and you see a little short play as they went and they traveled to this area, but then this thing happened and they learned a lesson and the end, almost like a silent film. But yeah, I really dig that. And are you shocked that so many people have, like, talked about it and recommended it? And it's like, as far as I know, this isn't like a gigantic hit, but it's really got this following. I'm not shocked that it has a following. I'm shocked it has
Not at all.
as big and as fast a following as it does.
Not at all.
No?
No, because, I mean, we haven't seen the ending yet, but to this day, we still remember Disney's Sleepy Hollow. And when you look at the... Let's be honest about Disney's Sleepy Hollow. That is 5 minutes of hardcore action, and the rest is just some singing and dancing and not much going on. And yet we still, to this day, like... And if most kids who grew up in the 80s when they reran it on Disney Channel all the time... we still remember it. There's a reason. It's the atmosphere. The atmosphere totally makes it. I think it's the same thing with this.
No, but even that usually takes time for... It takes time for people to usually open up to that. And I guess I'm
not if you do it really well. I mean, it had me from Frog playing piano, like in the first 5 seconds. You had me from Frog playing piano.
But most people, most people would see like that first episode and be like, that was weird. I mean, like, I don't hate it, I don't like it, it's just that was weird, and then, like, sort of not go back to it. But, yeah, but a lot of people seem to keep coming back to it.
Most people who like good animation and good storytelling and all of that, I think they would look at the first episode and be like, I have to know where this is going. Mm-hmm. And would keep watching it.
I wonder, when I
think it's the same thing with Disney's Alice in Wonderland. It's just like, you may not know what's going on, but you're just like, okay, what the hell is next? Like...
Well, but with Disney's Alice in Wonderland, there was definitely there were definite punchlines, there were definite jokes, which there's one or two in this. Some of the lines the bird says are very direct. This is meant to be funny. But I
love their version of swearing, by the way. Cheese and crackers.
Yeah. Jiminy Cricket. But I mean, stuff like, the boy singing about, molasses and potatoes, that's not funny. But it's just so strange, and they're so into it, and it's just so sucked up in its own little world.
But we don't
I didn't think enough people... I didn't think as many people would get so sucked into that bizarreness without an obvious punchline, without an obvious wackiness. Even though there's strange stuff, it's not... I wouldn't say wacky.
Well, not everything has to be SpongeBob.
No. But that's what I'm saying. I'm pleasantly surprised that so many people have gotten into this.
I think it's because this sort of stuff isn't out there all the time.
No, that could be it.
It's what else is out there like this? I mean, obviously Adventure Time to some degree, but Adventure Time is brighter and more colorful.
It's wacky. It's in your face.
Gravity
it's crazy.
Falls has a definite kind of plot that's going on. Like, this is different.
It's very different. And I really like that it has caught on as much as it has. And I guess I like it because it shows that people have a little bit more patience than I guess I thought they did. This takes
like
patience.
This is more like the stuff you see coming out of Europe or Japan, or this could have been like Secret of Kells or Song of the Sea. It actually reminds me a little bit of Song of the Sea, just in some of the animation and stuff, but the sort of things that kind of just run on atmosphere and it's just sort of whimsy, but not like the whimsy. It's like just sort of a natural, whimsical kind of thing going on. Like, it runs on cute, and it doesn't seem insanely manufactured. I could watch that kid with the stupid teapot on his head singing all day, because it doesn't feel forced somehow. It's just like he's doing what he does. So, and there's not a lot of that out there. Everything either right now has to have a plot, or if it doesn't, it's too zany and over the top, or too ironic, or
trying too hard.
Yeah, there's kind of a sense of just trying too hard. Like, you're right, there's no patience to it. So this is the rarity, and I think people respond to it because they're just like, yes, I want this, I crave this, I want more of this. It's the same reason why I travel an hour and 10 minutes into downtown on the north side of Chicago to see Song of the Sea, because I'm like, nobody's playing it out here, and I'm like, I want something freaking like that. You know, yeah, there's plenty of stuff that got released here that I enjoyed, you know, like the Lego Movie and stuff, but I want something that's just patient and weird and, you know.
No, I think you nailed it. So we'll get back to you when we finish up the rest of these, but it's quite intriguing.
Watch it.
Yeah, it'll definitely give you something you haven't seen before, and it's worth seeing. So
That sounded dirty. It'll definitely give you something you haven't seen before.
and it's worth seeing.
No, we just went dark.
Yeah, sorry.
You know, for kids.